Hey, welcome back to the Lead Security YouTube channel. I'm glad you're here today. Today, we're going to be looking at 7 scenarios every church security team should train for. Training is the foundation of a prepared and effective security team. By focusing on these 7 key scenarios, you can ensure your team is ready for anything, whether it's medical, a physical threat, even digital threats. Let's get started. Now, the first scenario every team should train for is a medical emergency. I regularly say if you're familiar with your firearm, but not your AED, you're not actually concerned with security. You just want to appear as if you are.
Got it!
Here's the thing, heart attacks take far more lives than mass shootings at churches every year. So, if you're really concerned about your community, get some CPR and first aid training. Your team needs to be confident they can respond to signs of heart attack, strokes, or even just dehydration.
What I call high-quality H2O.
Becoming familiar with CPR and AED training, basic first aid, and knowing how to calmly guide medical professionals to the scene is irreplaceable in the safety world. Remember, your team is often the first responders before paramedics arrive. If nothing else, train your team to understand how to use discretion during medical emergencies and how to manage a crowd that might be on the verge of chaos. Next is fire evacuation. Train your team to identify evacuation routes, any individuals who might have limited mobility, and train your team how to manage crowd control to prevent panic. I want to take an extra minute on a couple of these points. First, when I say train your team to identify evacuation routes, I should probably follow up with inspect your exit routes or inspect your evacuation routes. See, it's not uncommon for people to stack chairs or tables in places that they don't belong. And sometimes that place is in a back hallway that seems to be out of the way, but it's a direct line in case of an emergency. So train your team to identify these possible impediments and take the initiative to do something about it. When I say identify people who have limited mobility, what I mean is elderly people who might be in wheelchairs or using other medical equipment to help them get around. I also mean to include babies as well. Oftentimes, nursery gets forgotten about, but in the case of an emergency, including a fire that would require an evacuation, there's a greater than 0% chance that your nursery team might need some help carrying some little ones to safety. Make sure your members understand your church's fire evacuation plan, including how they can retrieve their children in case of an evacuation. Over communicating this is going to help curb any unnecessary panic in an already chaotic time. And how do you over communicate it? You can go through email, you can go through phone, you can go through social media. But one of the things that we like to do is we do a church-wide security meeting where we talk through all of these plans. Not everybody has to memorize them. Not everybody has to know how to implement them. But just being able to communicate it to parents especially helps ease some of that anxiety. Now, third, let's talk about handling disruptive individuals. Whether it's someone who is protesting either legally or illegally, maybe it's an attendee, somebody that's there, that's having a mental health crisis, or this is like the biggest one, a couple who's having an escalated disagreement, who's kind of pouring into maybe your side lobby.
My heart could explode at any second. These might be my very last words.
Your team needs to have some tools for de-escalating situations while managing or maintaining safety. I recently released a video that was dedicated to this topic. I framed a simple process for de-escalating using the acronym PEACE. I'll drop a link to that in the description of this video in case you haven't seen it yet. Now, one of the most serious scenarios a church security team should be prepared for is an active violent threat. A lot of people often refer to this as an active shooter, but that type of training is very one-dimensional. If we only train our teams to be prepared to manage an attack that is using lethal or deadly force, the question that we have to ask ourselves is, how will my team respond if we have an active violent threat that involves less than lethal force? If we only train to respond to lethal force, we might be setting ourselves up for failure. Training for an active violent threat involves knowing how to secure different areas of the building. It requires you to understand evacuation and lockdown procedures and how to coordinate with law enforcement. If you haven't already, invest some time into making sure you and your team are familiar with the principles of run, hide, fight, so you can guide others to safety in a high stress situation. Just to give you a quick rundown for what run, hide, fight means. Basically, if there is a violent threat in your property or on your property and you can run to safety, you should do it as quickly as possible. If you can't run to safety, maybe because your route is blocked, you need to find a place to hide. That also means you're probably going to need to turn the lights off and try to remember to silence your phone. And lastly, if you can't run and your cover has been blown, you have to be prepared to do whatever it takes to survive violence, which is to fight. I don't want to spend too much time here, but if you'd be interested in a deeper dive on run, hide, fight, comment security in the comments below. We're almost to the end of this list, and coming in at number 5, we want to mention Code Adam. A missing child is every church's nightmare, but as we say on this channel, hope is not a strategy. Still, I've found too many churches lean on that would never happen here as their plan for preventing kids from going missing on their campus. But statistically, it's one of the biggest threats facing any public space. So what is Code Adam? Well, Code Adam is a rapid response protocol for locating a missing child. Why is it important for your teams to be proficient in Code Adam? Because when a child goes missing, seconds matter. A well-trained team can lock down exits, can communicate clearly, and locate a child before they get hurt or worse. I have a Code Adam e-guide that's available on our website, which walks you through from start to finish. It's kind of like Couch to 5K, but it's Couch to Code Adam plan on how to execute your Code Adam drill at your church. It's called Every Second Counts. In that e-guide, I spell out multiple strategies for getting people to show up and how to get those people excited about your training. If you'd be interested in that e-guide, comment Code Adam in the comments and I'll send you a link. Another key scenario is weather-related emergencies. Depending on where your church is located, your church might have to prepare for tornadoes. I'm in Virginia Beach, so we sometimes have to prepare for hurricanes. You might get snowstorms or floods, or even my sister's out in California. You might have to deal with earthquakes or fires. Your teams need to know where to guide people for shelter in the case of any kind of natural emergency. You need to have a plan to manage prolonged power outages and even know when to evacuate if it's safe to do so, depending on the emergency. Having an emergency kit with flashlights, with radios, and first aid supplies isn't just another good idea. It's a must-have for those who are really security-minded. We have an off-site emergency first responder bag that stays in our shed that's not connected to our main building for emergencies just like this. We like to expect that if there's an emergency like a fire or a natural disaster, that emergency services are going to be there to help. But if there's a large scale emergency that you're facing, you might have to administer some life-saving care while waiting for the paramedics to arrive. You might be the actual first responder. And what better way to express the love of Jesus than be able to save someone's life? Finally, we're at the end of this list. Let's talk about cyber threats. Cyber threats is a growing concern for churches in today's digital age. Cybersecurity may not seem like a security team's responsibility, but protecting your church's sensitive information, your donor records, and your live streaming systems is absolutely vital. So how do you do this? Train your staff on how to recognize phishing emails, how to protect Wi-Fi networks, and how to implement strong passwords. You're going to want to collaborate with your IT team to ensure systems are secure and discuss some contingency plans just in case of a data breach. See, a cyber attack can disrupt some operations and damage trust among your congregation. So this is an area your team cannot afford to overlook. For a deeper look into how you can keep your data safe, check out our Lead Security Online membership where we break that down for you in detail. So there you have it. We've got 7 scenarios every church security team ought to train for. 1 is medical emergencies. 2 is fire evacuation. The 3rd is a disruptive individual or individuals, an active violent threat, a missing child, natural disasters, and cybersecurity threats. By practicing these scenarios regularly, your team will be able to protect your church community from a wide range of challenges and threats. Let me know in the comments which of these your team trains for, or what other scenarios we could add to this list. If you found this video helpful, please like, subscribe, and share it with your church security team. Thanks so much for watching the Lead Security YouTube channel. Stay safe, stay prepared, stay vigilant. God bless. We'll see you in the next one.